So this is a really important strategy, which is why it's number 2 on the ACT top 10 math strategies. And it's called picking numbers. And basically you do this when you want to kind of wiggle out of doing algebra, or when it's an algebra problem and you're not sure how to do it algebraically. And in most cases, it works when there are variables like algebra stuff going on in the answer choices. And if that's the case, you can usually use this technique to wiggle out of an annoying algebra situation. You can also just use this technique to confirm that you did it right, just to pick a number and kind of plug it back in and see if it all makes sense. So it's super useful to confirm and also just to get some algebraic problems right that would otherwise be a little bit challenging. So I'll just demonstrate it here. So the quadratic equation 12x squared equals 28x can be solved by factoring. What are the solutions? So you could do this algebraically. I'm not going to get into it. You divide both sides by x. It's really not that bad. But what if you have something like this and you forget how to do the algebra? Well, you can go to the answer choices and you can be like, well, there's a 1 hanging out in a lot of them. Let's see if 1 works, right? Okay, well, if x equals 1, 1 times 1 is 12, and 28 times 1 is 28. Does 12 equal 28? No. So anything with a 1 in it is gone. And we've just picked a 1 and kind of seen what happens. Well, now it's pretty simple. If 0 works, then B is the right answer. Does 0 work? 12 times 0 times 0 is 0 equals 0. Yep, done. So, I mean, that took what may have been a little scary, like, I don't know, dividing both sides by x, which might not be immediately obvious, and turned it into something that was really pretty easy, okay? So that is one example. Another example is this one, okay? You can see this is number 49, a little bit of a harder question. And so we'll probably have to do a little bit more work. That's okay. So for positive real numbers a, b, and c, such that 2a equals 3b and a quarter b equals a half c, what inequality is true? So the way they kind of want you to do this would probably be to put it all into one equation and maybe simplify it, something like that. But let's try picking numbers, and it should make it a lot easier. So we do have to follow the rules here. They do say that 2a equals 3b. So let's make b equal to 2 and a equal to 3. And it's fine to just write it right in there like that. You do need to write it down and keep track of everything. Otherwise, you're going to get confused, okay? So now 1/4 b, well, we said b is 2. So 1/4 b would be 2 over 4, right? Or something like that. We'll get rid of the b for now because we know that b is 2. Equals 1/2 c. Well, 2 over 4 is 1/2, so therefore c is 1, okay? So let's just write c equals 1 to make that really clear. So now we know, and let's just write everything down just so that we don't goof up anything at this point. We know that a equals 3 according to what we picked, and b equals 2 according to what we picked. It is good to write like a chart like this so you see it really, really clearly, okay? So the biggest one is a, so that leaves us with a or c, and the smallest one is c, and so that leaves us with a. So that was a perfect example of just picking numbers that worked. You could have picked almost anything. We could have said that a is 6, and then b would have to be 3, and then you would have gotten something else for c too, I guess. And it would all work out no matter what you pick, as long as you're following the rules in this situation. Okay, so that is the picking numbers technique. One last thing. If two answer choices both work, right? You pick numbers and you're like, and it works for A and C or something like that, then you usually have to try some other number. Like sometimes you just have to change one of the numbers but you kind of have to redo it. But then you just try it with those two answer choices. Not like you have to try everything all over again. So it still doesn't end up being a big deal. But there are some times when if you pick a number, you'll get two answer choices that work. A lot of times that happens if you don't pick 0 and try not to pick 1. Notice I picked A is 3 and B is 2. C ended up being 1, but that's just because it had to. Don't start off by picking 1 or 0 because it ends up with too many possibilities being created and you'll get two answers that both work, okay? But that's it. Just keep an eye out for all different types of problems where you can use this technique. Notice we used it for two pretty different types of problems. This was an inequality. This one, they wanted you to just factor. There are a lot of different possibilities.